Hello, beautiful souls. I'm here in my new home. I haven't done a video for a while because I've been in the process of moving and just had to give myself space for that. And I feel like I'm starting to come back home to myself and loving my new space, even though I'm still in the process of unpacking, but it feels really good and happy to be here. And today I'm bringing through a video about, it's going to be part of my empowerment series. So I'm going to be writing courses that I call my empowerment series and have different aspects of what empowerment is and how we can move into self-empowerment, and in that process then also empower others to move into their own state of autonomy and empowerment. And one aspect of that I've realized quite deeply is that the process of seeing someone as a victim and why that can hold them in victimhood and what it actually means for ourselves as well. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit, and then the Council of Nine are here present to bring through a channeling. I'm assuming that it will relate to this and talk about this, but we'll see what comes through because it will just be spontaneous in the moment. So this piece about being a victim and why it's important not to see others as a victim is because whatever we believe about ourselves and about others is what we create. So I'll start by saying that I feel that the reason Jesus was able to heal people so fully is because he knew the power of the Creator so strongly and the power within himself to hold that he saw people as whole and healed, and therefore in his presence they had to be that, because whatever we think is what we create in the external world. Our world, our experience is all based on the thoughts that we have. And so if I see someone as whole and empowered in my presence, they are going to hold more of that energy. And even when they're not in my presence, it's like when people gossip and talk about you behind their back, if you're as sensitive as I am, you know what's happening. Or I've had my family deny things that I know in my heart of hearts they will never convince me around this one thing that they told me didn't happen, and I know it did happen, because even when we're not in the presence of things, we feel people's energy. If I'm projecting an energy onto you, you're going to feel it. Or if you're projecting an energy onto me, I'm going to pick it up. An example of this is one time I was dating a man who his first wife left him for another person. So he had been cheated on, and she actually ended the marriage. And when I was with him, even though I'm a totally loyal person, when I was with him, I had the thought, I'm going to cheat on him. So it was even a thought before it was like a feeling within me. And I thought about it and I realized, oh, he expects that I will cheat on him because that's what happened in his previous relationship. And his expectation is so strong that I am picking up that expectation. I'm not someone who would do that and act on that, and I have enough self-awareness to realize where this was coming from. But this shows you what it's like. What others project onto us almost makes us do it to meet their belief about themselves, because they're creating their reality through us. And so what we project onto others really can have an impact on who they are. And so when we see someone else as a victim, we're holding them in that state of being a victim. And how we treat them is differently when we think that someone is a victim. We're like, oh, poor you. Oh, let me help you because you're not strong enough to do this on your own. You need my help. Let me feel sorry for you. And what we're really doing is projecting an energy onto that person that will hold them in that state of being a victim. We're disempowering them by seeing them as a victim. And how do you ever rise out of being a victim and victimhood? By holding yourself there and having others project onto you that that's exactly where you should be. It doesn't happen. In order to move above being a victim, we have to come to understand that we have the power to rise above whatever situation we are in, and that we are no longer a victim. I remember one time, an incident many years ago. It was related to when my marriage was ending, and something had happened that was quite troubling for me, and I had come home from work, and this friend said to me, "You are not a victim." So strong, so powerful the way she said that. And it almost like shook me up, and I thought, you're right. I don't need to be a victim in this. I can use my power of thinking to overcome this. And it was actually a matter of going to court related to my divorce. And it took 3 tries for the court to actually happen, because the first time there was one reason why the judge couldn't hear the case. The second time the judge didn't show up because he got called away to something else. And it was discouraging for me, but then I realized, oh, this is just giving me more time to create the situation that I would like to see for myself when we do end up in court. So especially the second time, when I had to take time off work and I had to travel to go, and when the judge just wasn't there, I felt so discouraged. And then I realized, no, wait a minute, this is just giving me more time to work on my belief systems, to work on my thoughts. And by the time that the court did go ahead, the judge actually ruled in my favor, even though what I was asking legally shouldn't have been supported. But he had such compassion for my situation, and he could see that I was doing the best that I could, that he ruled in my favor. So that's an example of how we can move from a place of feeling like a victim to a place of actually empowering ourselves. It takes work. We have to believe that we can create a situation that even legally shouldn't have been accepted, but I saw no other option for myself. And so I just decided to claim that, and it worked, because in all this time, the universe was supporting me. I realized after, when it took so long for this court case to actually happen. And in that time, I was empowering myself. I was being very conscious of my beliefs. I was saying, okay, universe, bring me someone who can see my situation and have compassion for what I'm going through. And that's the way it worked out. So this is really showing us how powerful our thoughts are. And so in order to rise out of being a victim, we have to find a way to be empowered. And when we see others as victims and feel sorry for them and feel bad for them, we are actually disempowering them. And this doesn't mean that we don't have compassion for others. We can still help people. If someone falls, you don't walk by them because, oh, I don't want to see you as a victim. You reach over and you pick them up, because you realize everybody stumbles. It's the attitude you have as you're supporting them. Everybody stumbles, and this person just fell, and I'm going to be kind and generous and be here in this moment and lift them up and help them and support them and make sure they're okay before I move on. But it's the attitude you have as you're doing that. So even if you see someone on the street, someone who lives on the street, and they're asking for money, you can give them money if it feels right to you without seeing them as a victim. You can give them money knowing that this is what they've chosen for themselves. Perhaps someday they'll choose something different. And if they want to be living something different, trust that they will know how to create that for themselves. You give your generosity from a different attitude. You don't see them as a victim. I know a family member of an acquaintance of mine who had an uncle who lived on the streets. He wanted to live that way. That was his choice. For whatever was going on within him, that was his choice. So he was not a victim. It's an unusual way for us to think that someone would want to live their lives, and I'm sure it's because of a lot of pain internally, but still it was their choice. So they are not a victim and didn't want to be seen as a victim. And so, whenever someone is going through a challenge or a difficulty, if you see them as a victim, then also it's important to say, where do I feel like a victim? Because in truth, that is a judgment of someone else. If we see them as a victim, it's a judgment of their situation. And a judgment comes from within, with some shadow within ourselves. So it's similar to if you watch a movie and it's a sad story and you find yourself crying. Those tears are always for ourselves. They're not really for that person in that movie. By watching the movie, it's almost giving us permission to cry the tears that we haven't cried for our own sadness, for our own sorrow, for our own pain that we hold. So whenever you see someone as a victim, ask, where do I feel like a victim? And you might say, for example, we'll use someone who is asking for money on the street. You might say, I'd never be living on the street. I don't see them as a victim because I'm a victim. But there's somewhere where you are seeing that homelessness would be a terrible thing, or living in poverty would be a terrible thing. There's some judgment somewhere in there about what that is. Perhaps you have a fear of poverty yourself that you haven't fully acknowledged. Even though you're scraping by and making enough, do you feel abundant and do you feel opulent? So I share this because it is time for us all to be empowered. It is time for humanity to be empowered. It is time for us to step out of victimhood. We are creating a new earth, and in this higher frequency that we're moving into, there is no place for victimhood. And so the sooner we move through that and leave it behind, the sooner we can rise up into this higher frequency as one being of humanity. And so whenever we feel like a victim ourselves, or we see someone else and we feel sorry for them and see them as a victim, it's time to feel, okay, let's turn this into an empowered state of being. I see that you are making this choice, and I empower you to choose the highest and best for yourself. And if I feel like a victim myself, I'm going to look in and explore, where does this come from? Where does this stem from? What is it that I can move through and let go of? And how can I empower myself to move through this? And of course, we do that with our thoughts. We do it by releasing the old patterns and the beliefs. Perhaps it's in our lineage, something that's been handed down in our ancestry that needs to be cleared. Perhaps it's something in a past life. And this kind of work I do, if you want to check out my website, I do a lot of different things around this. There are a lot of practitioners who can help you. Sometimes even just talking to a friend about it can help you move through it and help you see. You know, ask a friend just to reflect to you. I don't see where I'm a victim, but I realize I'm seeing others as a victim. I wonder where that could be something within me, and perhaps even discussing it with a friend will help you to see it. Because in this place of empowerment, when we come to know that we are creating our lives, and so everything is stemming from within, then we can really begin that process of transforming it and knowing that we've worked through our history and our patterns and our beliefs to a state where we are empowered when we see ourselves as empowered in every situation, when we never feel like a victim. It doesn't mean that things don't happen to you in your life anymore. It's just that you accept them. Oh, look what's showing up now. Okay, how am I going to be present with this? How am I going to move this through this with ease and grace? And the first step in that is accepting what is and not feeling like this shouldn't have happened. It's terrible that it happened. It doesn't mean that it's going to be pleasant. It just means that we know that it's happening for a reason, that it's allowing us to grow in that experience, that it's allowing us to evolve and change, and that it's life flowing through us. And when we can stay in that place of empowerment through it, then we can really be present with it instead of trying to deny it or run away from it, which is what a victim would do. A victim doesn't like to see the truth of what's happening, so they'll just, take a big U-turn around that one and go the other way instead of moving into it. But when we feel empowered, it's easy for us to move into what's presenting in our lives and really be present with it and really approach it from a place of empowerment, say what we need to say to others perhaps, do what we need to do to resolve our situation, and it will simply dissolve, and that kind of situation will even stop showing up for us because we don't need it anymore, because we've shown that we have reached a place of autonomy and empowerment where we've moved through that. So I will bring in the Council of Nine, who have said that they would like to share today and see what they want to bring forward for us in regard to this, or anything else that they want to bring forward. And so it is, beloved beings of the earth, beautiful beings of the light, sacred souls and hearts who are growing and expanding and evolving and becoming. We greet you from the love and light of all that is. We greet you from the love and light of the Creator. And we say to you, dear ones, this beautiful heart expansion that has just been spoken, these words that have just been spoken are an invitation for heart expansion. For you see, beloveds, when you see yourself as a victim, victims do not show up in the world in all their glory. They pull in, they contract, they get small because they're so afraid. It's almost like they don't want to be seen in the world, or they feel so insignificant that they don't want to be seen in the world. And they feel so helpless and hopeless that they simply contract and wither up like a piece of fruit drying in the sun. It's like all the life force is being sucked out of them. And so as you move out of this state of being a victim, you actually, it's like you're soaking that fruit in water again, and it fills up and it grows and it expands and it becomes fleshy again, fleshy with the vitality of life. And so the more you release yourself, and therefore everyone that you see in front of you, from a state of being a victim, the more you hold the fullness and the expansion of life, the more you can become alive in the world and alive in your full expression. And this is what living truly is. So as we express it this way, can you see how so many people in your present time are living in a state of victimhood? And much of this is perpetrated by your mass media. This is why the invitation is to avoid the news and avoid the mass media as much as you feel you can, because it perpetrates this state of victimhood. It tells you why you should be afraid. And if you're not afraid, here's something new that we'll talk about today that may stir up fear within you. They are constantly wanting to keep you in that state of being afraid and therefore a victim. People are even afraid to walk out into their own neighborhoods, when in truth, their neighborhood could be very safe, but they've been given this false idea, this false concept of what to be afraid of. And so many people live their lives in that very restricted state. And so it is time to choose what you believe. This is a key in shifting this state. What are you going to choose to believe? It doesn't matter what anybody else believes. You don't have to accept and adopt what other people believe. It's your choice in every moment. What are you choosing to believe? And be aware that you are choosing every moment what you believe. Whatever you allow to come into your body as a frequency by what you hear, see, taste, feel, experience, it is a choice of what you are going to believe. For when you become strong and you realize that you are looking after yourself. And then you become very discerning on who you will be with, what you will listen to, even where you will go, because you know that you are choosing your life experience based on all of these things. Your life does not become more restricted, it becomes more full because you are more full of yourself and less full of the external programming. So you feel full, even though you may be more discerning in where you go, what you do, and who you are with. It doesn't mean that there's less opportunity for you. It means that there's different opportunity for you, and you begin to magnetize into your experience those who will meet the frequency of what you believe and how you're choosing to live. You begin to magnify into your experience people who feel empowered. And then as you come together in states of empowerment, imagine how that is going to expand and grow and bring a beautiful light frequency into the earth, as opposed to coming together as victims and growing smaller and smaller and more diminished together. So, beloveds, be the rose that grows and finds the sun, and the sun then becomes so compelling that it must blossom, and the beautiful aroma, the pheromones that invite other people in, pulling others into you by your beautiful scent, by your beautiful presence, by the aura of light and love and expression that you are in the world. As that aura grows and magnifies, as you become alive in your fullness, then you attract more experiences into your life that show you that fullness, that bring you that fullness. And so, beloveds, this is the invitation today. This is a very simple yet powerful message on becoming empowered, and most importantly, becoming aware of the mass consciousness of victimhood and who you want to be in that, how you want to relate to that. And remember what this one said in the beginning, that you can still support people. You are supporting them from a place of seeing them as empowered. And so support can look different. Support can be even, I see within you the light of the divine that knows exactly what to do in this situation. I bless you with the knowing and awareness of what to do in this situation and to find the strength within yourself. And I will offer you a hand as you find that strength, as I see you becoming more and more empowered every day. So, beloveds, it is our joy and delight as always to come before you, to be present with you. And we say to you that this state of empowerment is the next step for humanity, to come back to your sovereignty, your divinity, to knowing who you are, and to turning your back on all the programming that has worked so long to keep you small. Rise above it, dear ones, for the frequency of now that is available to all. Not all walk in it, but it is available to all, is a frequency of love and light that is so powerful that the state of victimization simply has no ground here. And so as you release any of that within yourself, you will find yourself then walking more and more fully into the state of the 5D frequency that is available to all at this time. And so it is, we leave you as we see you fully empowered, radiant, bright, emanating the unique light that is you into the world, as you become one rose bush, each with individual blossoms coming together to be this beautiful gift of love and light to the whole world. And so it is, beloveds. Shine brightly. We love you so. And so it is. And so I will finish today with a little bit of light language. I was working with a friend this morning offering light language, and it ended up being partially this beautiful healing for the earth and the land, because the land also holds a state of victimhood, you could say. We were working with her in Nova Scotia, and part of her physical problems were related to the land where she lives, that she had done battle on that land, and her body, now living on that land, was holding the frequency still of that battle. And it was a huge healing that happened through the light language. So I would like to finish this up with some light language that will allow that healing that needs to happen for all of us to let go of that state of being a victim and rise into our state of being completely whole, full, and complete within who we are. And so I will invite in the ancient ones now for this. Hiakla ichkana ikna atwa e miktaka ichkano ikla atwa e ianai ichkana ucha ichkana atwa e ikna ataka I achkana I matika ichkana o ichkana o miktaka ki alalawa ichkai na umaktaka hi akshana ikna ichkana achwa e ikna atwa e ikna achktu Dee-da-doo, dee-dee-dee-dee-doo, ina-na-na-ni-ana-ino, ima-na-na-na-ina-ina-na-na-no, ino-ish. Ina-na-na-no-no-no-no, ina-na-na-no, ina-na-na-no, ina-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Ooh-dee-dee-dee-dee, ooh-da-da-da-da-da-da, ina-na-na-na. I saw us all in a huge circle, and they did a little bit of deprogramming, and then it was anchoring in the earth energy and the light from above and spreading around the circle of us all, and then a huge disc of light that just expanded and moved through all of us so that we were all standing empowered and radiant in the light. And just so you know, this place of empowerment is not as emotional as we're used to being. It's a more stable way of being, so there aren't the highs and lows, because emotionally, even when we have the highs and we're in this beautiful joy, a low has to follow, because that balance is just a part of the way it is. When we're in a state of harmony, it's actually a bit more flat, you could say. There's just this internal stillness and this peace and contentment and love. And so that's how I saw us all at the end, just in this strong internal knowing of who we are. And there's nothing to be emotional about, really, because we are just in this solid state of being the love and light that we are. So, my dear friends, so wonderful to be with you. Thank you all who are present to the very end of this message and anchoring your love light into the world, sharing in this experience. My deepest love and blessings to you all. It's so much fun to be here together. Please support this channel if this resonates with you by liking and subscribing. And I love to hear your comments. It really supports my work, supports me, brings me great joy. So much love to you all.